Okay, my name's Emily and this is my story. I was 15 years old and I met this boy who is now my child's father. I thought he was the love of my life, thought everything was perfect with him, high school sweethearts and everything. And he was into the drug world at a really young age. And I decided that if I wanted him to love me more, that I was going to do drugs so I could be with him more, so he could love me more. And it went from smoking Roxy's to popping any kind of pill that I could to smoking weed and just staying out all night. I In high school I was in all AP classes. I would sit at the kitchen table for 4 or 5 hours after school and work on homework and made sure I had every answer right. I would go to church every Sunday and Wednesday. My parents never had to worry about trusting me or anything like that. And then um, once I decided I was going to move out at 16, 15 and a half, 16 and go live with him, that's whenever everything started to go downhill. And my mom, bless her heart for like everything that she's ever been through, but she always wanted me to come home and she told me that it was always going to happen and always trust your parents. But I got into the drug world and it got to maybe doing it every Friday or doing it every once in a while to turning into every day. And then I would smoke up to 15 pills a day just by myself, not including what he would smoke and then what we would smoke together. And then it got cheaper to go to heroin and start smoking heroin. And I ended up finding out I was pregnant in May of 2016. I had gotten pregnant late February, early March, but I didn't find out until May, so I was still heavy using drugs in that time period. And and whenever I found out, I got off Roxy's because I was really bad on those with heroin, and I stopped for a little bit. And there was a situation where he had gone to jail for a month, and I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, nothing like that. So I went back to what I knew for so long was drugs so I could eat, sleep, and feel normal without the person that I thought that I loved at the time. And I ended up having my daughter December 7th, and I didn't stop using drugs until December 1st. And after I had my daughter, no, my doctor didn't know that I was using drugs or anything towards the end of my pregnancy. And after I had my daughter, they couldn't figure out what was wrong with her, so they tested my urine and then found it positive for opiates. And thankfully, like on I had her on the 7th. I can't remember what exact day it was, but I had 5 days with her in the hospital, and I had her at Southwest Integris, and they moved her to Baptist because it had more medical care for her just being a newborn and going through withdrawals and everything. And I spent 5 days with her the time that I did had custody of her, and then the day that they took her away, I felt empty, broken, lost, and I was ashamed of everything that I had ever done. But the day that I quit using drugs, that was the day where it all clicked with me that I was never going to use again. It didn't matter how hard it was going to be in the future, because I knew there was something in my brain that told me that I was going to lose my daughter. And that's whenever it truly clicked with me that that wasn't the person I was supposed to be for the rest of my life. I wasn't supposed to be involved in that in any way, shape, or form. And I had my daughter on the 7th, and he ended up officially breaking it off with me on the 30th of December. And at that point, I had lost what I thought was everything. I had lost my daughter. I had lost all trust in my family because they didn't know anything had happened. They And then I had lost him, and I thought he was going to be with me for forever. That was my child's father. And something, I kept telling my mom that no matter what happens, if the state doesn't end up giving me back my daughter, or somebody else becomes the foster parent, then that wasn't meant for me. And that wasn't God's plan for me. That there was something different that was supposed to happen for the reason why it happened. And I went to a temporary emergency custody hearing where that's whenever they took my daughter. And we had met this lady in the hospital, and she said there was tons of things that we could do outside of just going to court every 3 months for my daughter, and figuring out how far my treatment plan has gone and everything like that. And whenever my official caseworker came out, she had talked to me about going to family drug court and getting involved at NAIC and doing anything possible. So my first thought was, well, I know how drug court works. I know that it's a pretty simple program. It's works. I know that much. Just because I've been in it for a year and I've stayed clean through the whole thing, and if I've ever had any problem, they have always been there, either a phone call away, or I could go up to the courthouse and talk to anybody from up there. But I knew I wanted free drug testing just so I could prove to his family and my family and prove to myself that that's something that I could do. And so I got in the program of family drug court, I think February, and from drug court and going to parenting classes at CCFI and going to NAIC and meeting with an individual counselor, I have stayed sober for December 1st will be a year, and within this year that I've been in drug court and everything like that, I have started trial unification with my daughter. I got that on September 5th. I graduated high school and got my diploma. I finished 2 parenting classes. I've I've gained more support from my whole family, and I'm part of a family again. Um, what else? I mention it all the time of everything that I've done, and there's just so much that I've done within a year, just with people helping from different programs and people helping outside of programs. And with my job, I work at 7-Eleven, so I see tons of people every day, and I have tons of regulars. And even their support, which they don't even know my whole story, but their support, my mom and my 2 sisters have been my backbone through it all. But there's never been a doubt in my mind that I couldn't finish a program. The people that you surround yourself with are what your motivations are. So if you're surrounding yourself with people that don't have a plan in life, or want to go out and party all weekend or all week, even, that's going to be your mindset. And so I started surrounding myself with sober people and people from family drug court, and I started gaining more sober friends and more friends that would help me if I needed any help, that knew which way to push me in the right way if I didn't think that I could talk to my mom or my sister. And my caseworker has been a big blessing. My attorney has been a big blessing. You know, it's a program that works as long as you're willing to work it. And there's a lot that you have to do at the very beginning, and I remember crying to my mom like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to quit. They don't see my progress. And granted, I was only 2 months in, and I felt like I had picked up the world and put it back in the right place. But that 2 months compared to now, I look back and I remember looking at my mom and saying, like, a year from now, like, is it all going to be worth it? Am I even going to have my daughter back? Am I really going to stay sober through it all? Am I going to just mess up and screw it all up? Am I going to lose my daughter for good? And looking back on this whole year, the people that have been there for me, the program that has been there for me, the stories that I've heard, just people make it, and people do get through whatever trials they've been put in, whatever trials they've been through or been put through. And it's a story, and this was just my story. It's nothing big, it's nothing simple, but it's my story, and it's what makes me sober to this day. It's what's got me almost a year sober. The people have helped me get a year sober and stay sober, and I couldn't imagine a life any different than the life that I have. My mom, my relationship with her used to be really rocky, and now it's the best thing that I could ever ask for. My sister and I are so much closer, and I have another sister who has just been like my twin. Like, we both feel like the black sheep of the family, but she understands me. And my daughter, just being able to come home to her or take her out to eat whenever I want, or go shopping with her whenever I want, and it's a feeling that you'll never feel. It doesn't compare to any high that I've ever gotten. I don't know about some people, but it doesn't compare to any high that I've ever gotten. It doesn't compare to anything I could lose 3 days of sleep and be perfectly fine if I'm sitting there with her. And this there's so many reasons to stay sober, but this program, my daughter, my family, and my sobriety are what means a lot to me. My name's Emily, and this is my story.